Hey everyone, it's Jacqueline. I wanted to do another update video. My life's doing well. Everything's pretty good. It's Christmas, so I hope everybody's having a good holiday season and everyone's safe and whatnot with COVID. Um, there's a topic I wanted to discuss, and it's about how the different generations of being trans how transgender, how being transsexual or transgender or whichever one of these things, how it's evolved as time's gone on, and how it will continue to evolve down the road. So there's no end in sight, which is weird and slightly concerning, but also I guess comforting, because the whole point of transitioning is to change. And so, because there is a difference between transitioning and being transgender. Transitioning is a choice, being trans is not. So, and I wanted to clarify almost on my last video where someone asked me, were you trans before you took hormone therapy? And I said, well, yes, of course. However, I would never expect anyone to change my pronouns to what I want to identify as if I wasn't actually transitioning, because that seems a little selfish, if you want me to be honest. Um, so of course, I've been trans my whole life. I believe I've had these thoughts since I was a kid. It was almost like a glimpse through a door that was partially open. And I believe, and I think a lot of other people believe, that to actually go through that door, you have to transition. You have to physically change yourself. You have to take hormones or alter your body or something like that to actually go through. And so for me, hormones, estrogen in particular, and blocking testosterone, I changed it. My whole thought process changed very quickly. And testosterone will affect your track of thought, your emotions, your anger, sex drive, the way you perceive sex, the way you communicate with other people. These are very real things. And so I do believe where someone can suffer from dysphoria, and they can have dysphoria, to truly identify as a transgender individual, I do believe you have to walk through that door. That's just, that's an opinion of mine that I've had since I started transitioning. However, when we talk about how being trans has evolved and changed over time, and how the identities and labels and so on and so forth have evolved, when I first transitioned, the generation that was ahead of me, the generation from the 80s and 90s that started to transition, they were very different than things are right now, because that generation didn't believe in not having surgery at all. They believed you, so say as a trans woman, you go and get your SRS, you go get your GRS, whichever one you want to call it, you go and get your surgery, your main surgery. And they frowned upon trans girls focusing on passing and so on and so forth. They believed you had to change, that being a woman was having a vagina and being a man was having a penis. That's what the generation before me had. And they're a lot older now. But to me, my generation, which is behind the one that is currently right now, the one that has dictated being non-binary and all the different little categories and compartmentalizing all our identities and discussing it day in and day out, that generation is not my generation. So that's why I don't see it the same way. I do believe that my generation is the generation of HRT. It's the generation of being on estrogen and testosterone from a younger age and transitioning, and the focus was passing. The focus was, we were the generation that really pushed for the facial feminization. We were the generation of, just really pushing for passing. That was, when I first transitioned, that was my thing. So before I actually took hormones and before I started to live as a woman, I I knew I was trans, and I used to dress as a woman. I used to do drag, and I was pretty good at it actually. But there was something wrong with it for me. It was the show, and so I thought, well, maybe these drag queens with their larger than life makeup and their big hair and so on and so forth. And I always found them. This is terrible to describe, but I found them quite sad actually. I found drag queens to be very sad. They would always fight with each other. They were very aggressive. They have testosterone in their system. They're overrun with testosterone, so they are, they have a way of perceiving the world differently than, say, a trans person. So for me, when I was around drag queens dressing in women's clothing, but were men and didn't pass as women, I found them very problematic for me, because I was like, that is not what I am. That I am not what these people are. And I just couldn't figure out what I was. There was one other drag queen that I knew, and she looked like a woman for the most part when she'd dress up. And I was very impressed with her. I was actually, but she found me an enemy. So she actually made me like an enemy. This is a long time ago. I mean, I was 18. And the reason why was because the two of us, our goals were to look like women. So for me, I wanted to look like a woman that was doing a performance instead of a man doing a performance as a woman. There is a difference. And I could not figure out what was wrong with me. Now, she was actually trans at that time. She was taking hormones. She had breasts. She was very beautiful, maybe not in like the daytime, but she was attractive. And then as time went on, now she's a full man. I mean, I think she takes testosterone now and like to counteract whatever she was on. She had her breasts removed, and that was he. And he had a lot of problems with his family. And I remember him wanting to get breast implants, like larger ones, and his family was deep Southern religious and wouldn't abide it. So as much as I disliked this person at the time, they would scratch my CDs and do so on and so forth for my performances. They would ruin my performance. As much as I disliked them because they were cruel and vindictive, they were suffering behind the scenes, unable to actually transition. So I actually feel sorry for this person, because in my opinion, that is a trans woman. But what are you going to do? So everyone has their own path they have to go down. So as far as when I decided to actually transition, it was when I saw a friend of mine. I moved to California in 2007, and I moved to California. And when I got there, the moment I got there, I was staying with this friend of mine that used to do drag in Memphis and left to move out there, and actually started to transition. She took hormones. She had her breast implants done. She had minimal facial surgery. And the moment I saw her come downstairs from her apartment, she had very feminine. The moment I saw her, I was like, how did you do this? I was blown away by it. And there I was sitting, because I used to wear makeup and I couldn't figure out what I was. So I'd wear lots of makeup, and I was very middle of the road, androgynous. I'd wear makeup and men's clothes, and it was a fashion choice is what it was. So when I saw her with no makeup on, very minimal, looking like any woman I'd ever seen, and I knew her before, so it really blew my mind, the difference between just dressing as a woman and being a woman, living your life as a woman day in and day out. There is something to be said about that. So whereas like TERFs, they believe being a woman is an experience, it's not a feeling. Trans people believe they feel that they are a woman. And TERFs believe it is an experience over your lifetime. In a way, I'm in the middle there, which is strange that I can see the side of the TERFs and kind of understand that, because there is something to be said about your experience living as a woman for a long period of time, where that is just who you are and that's who you identify as, and there's no discussion about it. I don't want any attention. You're just living your life as a woman. You don't even like discussing your gender identity. You just live as a woman. There's something to be said about that. And then you have TERFs where they're wrong. And I believe that you can feel like a woman, and that's one thing, but you can still be a man and feel like a woman. And then you can be a woman who has experience living as a woman. And so that's my opinion. I don't believe people can just identify as a woman just because they feel like it. I also don't believe that you have to be born a woman and have menstrual cycles to be a woman. I do believe that it's right in the middle. Harmonic balance, if you will. And so that's the topic I wanted to discuss today. So I hope that gives a little insight into why I feel the way I do about my last video, and about the differences between being transgender and being non-binary. And so yeah. I'm going to end this video at 10 minutes. And so anyway, I hope everybody has a great holiday and so on and so forth. And I hope this video makes sense to a lot of you. I hope you get to see like a different generational thing. Because I have found in 2010, when I moved back to the city I'm in now, I was one of the only ones that was actually working a regular job that wasn't in the sex industry, that was, that was just living my life as a woman. And the rest of a lot of the trans people here were they were very different from me in a lot of ways because I was coming from California where it was different. And I was just living my life as a woman at that time. I had been transitioning for like 3 years at that time, and now I'm going on how many years? That was 2007. February 2007 is when I started my hormones. So, and I have been on them ever since. So there you have it. It's the different generations of being trans is fascinating. Transsexual, transgender, and now the new generation is absolutely non-binary. That is the new identity that people have adopted. And I wonder where it kind of came from. The foundation of where did it go from being transgender into being non-binary? Or how did it go from transsexual, transgender to non-binary? And to me, I don't think non-binary should be under the transgender umbrella. That's just my opinion. I think it should be a separate thing of its own in the LGBTQ community. I think it should be LGBTQN, you know? And so that's just my opinion. I think that that will probably happen as down the road, because I know a lot of trans women that don't identify with the transgender umbrella. They feel it doesn't work for them. Yeah, anyway, I hope that does a little clarification. I hope you guys are well. I'm gonna let you go and I'll upload this video, and I will make another one soon. I'm gonna try and do little quick updates like this a little bit more often. And everyone have a great day. Bye.